Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another video from Steve Adventure Academy, where today we're going to debunk some potentially deadly myths for both you and other woods users with regards to fire creation. Now, we're going to skip over and assume that you have some sort of fire creation device, that you know how to do it, use it, and that you've seen some of our other content perhaps on how to create a fire. But for me, the big concern is that I see a variety of experts, and I'm using that term lightly, unfortunately, guys, doing things like creating their fire area in a way that is just not going to be safe for them. It's definitely not safe for the people around them and future users. So, rather than belabor the point, I will get into the cat hole that we've got started here, just for demonstration purposes. We didn't go full-fledged. And what tool are we using? Well, we came out in the bush today with our cold steel wakizashi. It may not be the best tool. There'll be lots of debate, I'm sure, in your own minds, but it's the one that puts a smile on my face every day, so that's the one I went with. But you can get them in 1055 mid-carbon steel at a great price in any shape that will put the smile on your face too. So we took that tool and we found something that was already down. As you know, the best firewood is always at a 45 or lower and is about that color. There should be lots of it around in the eastern Canadian woodlands, and hopefully you'll find some as well. So we cut a piece, as you can see, that's longer than my arm, about twice as long as my arm, so that I had a good handle, so that I could really dig with. And I put a bit of a point on the end. Now you can see it's mostly a shovel point or plow point, and then I knocked it off flat so it doesn't chip off real bad. We're going to get into some crazy one-take camera work here, but things to consider. How tall is your fire going to be? So campfire burns at about 850 degrees, so you can easily cook anything you need to on a campfire. The question is, how big is your fire going to be? Well, it doesn't matter if your sticks are this long, or this long, or this long. It's still the same amount of heat. It's just a matter of how far it's radiated. So if you're going to put a small pot next to your fire and then sit next to your fire, you probably don't need firewood any longer than 6 to 8 inches, somewhere in this family. So that's going to be 6 to 8 inches tall when you start, and then it's going to add the flame on top. So you need to make this mental calculation of how tall your fire is going to be so that you can create your fire pit. The fire pit consists of 3 parts. There's the inner part, which is going to be brown dirt. So you're going to pull back. First thing we're going to do is pull back this material. I'm going to take you off the tripod here, folks, so you can have a better look. So as you can see, what we've done here is we've pulled back this basic material. This is just that stuff that the woods sheds. So we pulled it back and we're going to save it back. Now we pull this all the way back. So if I'm going to have a 6-inch sticks, I'm probably going to have an 8 to a 12-inch fire. So my brown dirt hole needs to be 3 times that size. So if my flames are going to be up here, see if we can get that right. So my flames are going to be up here at about 6 inches of stick, and then some flame is probably going to be in the neighborhood of 8 inches tall based on all of our experience. And so we need to have a fire pit or a brown dirt hole that's 3 times that size. So from the middle, 1, 2, 3. Or 1, 2, 3. So it needs to be this big. Is this making sense to you so far? The reason is that this material, although it's wet right now, it's very wet and my gloves are wet. You can see that it's very wet. Well, this material is going to, at 850 degrees, is going to dry in just a few minutes. And now it's combustible. It's not just combustible in a way that you will see it. And here's the problem. It's combustible in a way that it can take an ember, and that ember can remain below the surface, drying and burning as it travels under the surface. You can't see it if it's under the surface. You may not even see smoke, but there'll be enough air down under here that that ember can move. There are documented cases where the ember has gone underground for as long as a year and traveled kilometers under the surface, where it found a dry tree, just weaved its way and found a dry tree, flared up and caused a forest fire. I'm pausing for dramatic effect. That's really not good. So as you're digging down, you'll see the layers. See the top layer is that green stuff that you can see. We pull that back. There's this brown stuff underneath. I'll show you over here where I pulled it back. See, it's very brown. I could dry that out in just a few minutes with just my Zippo flame, and that will be very combustible. So you've got to dig down into the brown dirt. You'll know that it's brown dirt because when you rub it in your hands, it gets your hands dirty. This stuff it will actually clean. See, you took the dirt off. So you've got to dig down to brown dirt. Then your fire circle needs to be 3 times wider. Then your fire is going to be high. So an 8-inch fire means 8 inches, 1, 2, 3. So my fire circle's got to be basically as big as that stick. Let me see if I can show you that. I know it's horrible camera work, but when you're on your own, one take wondering, and out in the bush, this is what you get. So that's how big my safety circle needs to be. Then beyond that, I'm going to pull back this length again, just the surface stuff, this surface. So I'm creating a real space so that if sparks fly, and they will, they don't land in something, because you're going to be off collecting firewood. You're going to be enjoying a nice meal, let's hope. You're going to be creating your shelter while your fire is burning. You don't want to turn around because you hear something coming for your life. It's that serious. All right, let's move on to the other point that is a little bit silly and I don't understand. So you'll see a variety of experts creating rings of rocks that they've collected from out and about. Rocks conduct heat. They don't stop heat. When you stack rocks side by each, like I'm illustrating with my fist, see me through the holes? Flames can't get through tiny holes like that? Yes, they can. They're not obstructed by the rocks in any way. And so you're creating a heat sink, which is a great place to lean up your cooking stick. It looks great in pictures. It's the traditional Boy Scout fire pit. But the rocks conduct the heat into the ground, so they're not providing any protection from the fire expanding. The rocks have gaps between them that allow sparks and flame to pass through, and the heat itself is going to pass through the air. If it didn't, you wouldn't get warmed up by the fire. And it's going to burn the things around your fire pit, your fire ring. Third, the rocks that you've collected out and about have been sitting mostly submerged in the dirt or laying on the dirt for thousands of years. They're wet, the same as they would be if they were below the tide line on a coastal area. If they get sufficiently heated in a short period of time, the water inside will boil before the rock can expand and the rock will explode. So you're creating a hazard. You're putting effort, burning calories into creating a hazard that has no benefit, except that you can prop your stick up on it and it looks great in a selfie. So dispense with the rocks. You need a brown dirt circle 3 times larger than your fire is going to be high. 1 foot sticks. This is so tricky, guys. 1 foot sticks are going to produce how tall a fire? At least 16, probably 18 inches. That's a lot of height. That's a lot of circle you got to dig. So, short sticks, low fire, something you can get close to and easily maintain. You'd even be able to use your space blanket. There's a variety of opportunities, and I'm telling you, if you haven't tried a tiny fire, it's way better than a tiny house, because you've got all this extra room out in the bush to store all your cool kit. So, tiny fire, get those brown dirt fire rings, and don't be fooled by the color of the detritus that you're going to find under that loamy layer. Get it right, be safe, and don't burn down the bush that we enjoy so much. What did we miss? Oh, and again, all due respect to all of the experts out there that have not been doing it correctly, I can understand where there'd be confusion because you see these photos, they look so great. I want to take them too, but it's not safe. Please, guys, stay sharp and be safe.